Well, hello, Patreon patrons. We hope everyone is having a fantastic midway through their summer. Hopefully, you've been busy. Hopefully, you've been catching up on the podcast. Hopefully, you all enjoyed the world premiere of the Bastila audio drama Part 1. That was pretty exciting stuff to get out there. And some other stuff that's been exciting has been going on, and that is Indiana Jones. Cassio, we've been talking about it a lot. We did an episode, which is probably coming out the same day that this is coming out. Over on the main feed where we're talking about the first four. But you and I wanted to get together to talk about the newest installment, the last installment, probably, maybe. But Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. How are you doing today, Cassia?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. I just got back from a nice vacay. And on vacation, I always come back with 15 books. So that's what happened. It's the kind of shopping I like. And I have a nice Coke Vanilla Zero with coconut creamer, which I know you're adverse to coconut, but it's on my end, it can't hurt you. So.
That's right, absolutely. I don't know if you've ever made your way to Atlanta, Georgia, but that is where the home of Coca-Cola is, and you can make any kind of Coca-Cola you want. So you could literally make your own coconut Coca-Cola and get it put into a little bottle and probably get your name put on it and stuff like that. That would be pretty fun. So hopefully you had an excellent vacation. That's nice. I just hung out with some family kind of for the 4th of July and obviously made it out to see Dial of Destiny. So hopefully everyone out there in Patreon land had a good, like I said, kind of 4th of July holiday here in the United States, at least, and then, elsewhere around the world. Hopefully you're enjoying your summer and hopefully getting up to some adventures. Hopefully your adventures don't involve you going back to the Siege of Syracuse, because that looked pretty scary. But before we get into that, we should probably say spoiler warning for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It just came out on the 30th of June, so you might not have had a chance to see it. I know it was tricky for me with the schedule, with the holiday and stuff, to get out and see it. But we made it out just this past Monday, and pretty excited to talk about it.
Yeah, and spoiler alert for probably 1 through 4 as well. Just all things Indiana Jones. I've only seen one of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, but maybe I'll accidentally spoil that, so yeah.
That's right. This is going to be a deep dive on that one episode of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, which is a show that I never even knew existed, to be quite honest. But I'm glad that they're out there now. I'm going to have to go back and watch some of those on Disney Plus, so that's good. So, Indiana Jones. This is the 5th installment. We had, kind of the first three, the three that everyone, I guess, I don't know, for better or worse, thinks of when you think of Indiana Jones. You had Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade in 1981, 1984, and 1989. And then Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out in 2008, which is something that I saw once and then never again until last week when we were talking about it on the podcast. But revisiting it was fun. And it was interesting to see how they're going to, I think, more or less wrap up Indiana Jones' story here in this 5th installment. So, Cassia, let's talk about that, I guess, before we talk about the movie too much. So, Crystal Skull was something that you had just rewatched as well, kind of in your just personal movie watching, but then also to get into preparing for the podcast episode that we recorded. But what were your, I don't know, thoughts about the way that ended and where we might see Indiana Jones here coming into the 5th installment?
I think I never really hated it the way some people did and maybe still do, I just had fond memories, because I when I was a little bit older was able to see the Indiana Jones trilogy, and I always heard rumors of an Indiana Jones 4 maybe, and then it looked like it was finally happening. And like I said, I saw it when midnight movies used to be a thing. Our high school rented the theater and we got to see it opening night. It was so cool. And there was some highs and lows, with every movie, but yeah, I never really quite got the hate. I didn't love it as much as the first three, but I always kind of wanted more Indiana Jones, and I was kind of oh, I wonder what Mutt Williams, will do in the future? Does Indy have any other children? Like, what will the future hold? And I'm just so glad that we finally got an Indiana Jones 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the way that Indiana Jones 4, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull ended, it ended in a way that could have been, very well a send off for Indiana Jones, right? So, Indy and Marion got married. You had Mutt there. Seemed like, everything was kind of come to a conclusion. But, fast forward to the year 2023 and we're getting the fifth installment, which is something I guess that's kind of been on and off of the books for quite a while. From the way I understand it, I guess, is this movie was actually supposed to have happened, 4 or 5 years ago. Steven Spielberg was set to direct it, but then ended up wanting to do Ready Player One instead, and it got kind of pushed back, and then, COVID happened, and then now we're, getting the Dial of Destiny that we got, with James Mangold directing. You still had a lot of the same kind of players there. Spielberg and Lucas were on to act as executive producers. You had Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall, there as the ones that are actually producing the film, just the same way that that's been pretty much since the start of the franchise. And you have John Williams, of course, doing the music, and Harrison Ford back as Indiana Jones. So a lot of the same kind of pieces were there. What I think has been kind of fun, they've done a really good job with kind of the press tour and press junket of this. There has been a lot of interviews and interview footage with Harrison Ford, with James Mangold, and talking about how this movie kind of came to be and the decisions that were made about it. And I think that stuff has been really interesting. Have you been keeping up on any of that stuff about the kind of behind the scenes production stuff or anything like that?
No. And sometimes
fail.
I think I'm happier when I don't hear all the nitty-gritty, like this has been canceled, this person's been replaced, this person will not be the director. So sometimes I feel like if I don't know all the things, I'm not getting spoiled,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was a nice pleasant surprise. And I think I did kind of miss Spielberg in the director's chair, but it was still a fun movie, and I thought the cast was great. Always good to see Harrison Ford, and honestly I think he gave a career best performance. He didn't phone it in. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge, loved Fleabag, so I thought she was great. And John Williams, man, he has done so many distinctive scores. But did you keep up with all the things?
I mean, I wasn't keeping up on it so much. I have watched a little bit of it, kind of in the near near time to release, and then the just after. And sometimes I like you. I don't like to read a lot of things. I don't like to be spoiled. I don't like to get into too much of the behind the scenes stuff, just because that's not really my jam. But I knew that there were going to be some questions being thrown around and stuff like that. And I wanted to kind of see how that stuff was being addressed, specifically, James Mangold. He's been very kind of open about how much communication that he'd had with Steven Spielberg and making the film, and kind of some of the creative choices that he made, in light of those conversations, and finding out that George Lucas, had ultimately, gone over the script and things like that. I think has been really kind of interesting to hear about, their level of involvement in, something like this that's, as beloved and as a big part of, their careers as well. Now, I've heard a lot of people say kind of what you say, that they missed a little bit of that, Spielberg flair, as it were. And I don't really see that myself, especially in the first kind of, 20-ish minutes there, the de-aged Indiana Jones portion there, where we're back, in World War II time, which would have been, kind of right on the tail end of the first couple of Nazi adventures that Indiana Jones was going on. That, to me, felt really, really Steven Spielberg-y, before it got kind of turned over into a James Mangold film, when we fast-forwarded to New York City. So I feel like he did a really good job of kind of capturing the essence of Steven Spielberg before ultimately, making it his own, because when the movie ends, it's going to say it's directed by James Mangold. So you have to put your own kind of stamp on it in some
True.
stance. But that's kind of what I took away in terms of the directing. And then obviously you get the benefits then of obviously you have Harrison Ford, who is 81 years old, but the action sequences then that he directed, which are mostly driven by literally driven, automobiles and horses and things like that, which is really in Mangold's wheelhouse, which really looked gorgeous and really kind of allowed Indiana Jones to still be this action stunt spectacular character without necessarily relying so much on his physicality, because Harrison Ford looks pretty good at 81, but still 81.
Yeah, obviously. I don't know, like I did mention like I'd seen all the James Bond films this year, so I think like I'm okay with like some like changes being made over the course of like um a certain series, but I think like my conclusion is like I just would have preferred more Indiana Jones films, like some
Right.
people are like just leave it at 3. I'm like, "No, I want 47 of these," like I don't know, like it would have been cool. I mean, Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones, but it would have been interesting, like in an alternate universe, like what if, like uh, it became kind of like a James Bond gig, like where
Mm-hmm.
certain actors like play it like for 3 movies or so, and like you have different directors, they play with genre, like it's a cool thought exercise I had.
Yeah, it is. It is, and it's such a neat character, and it's kind of in this really neat place. You and I talked about it a lot in our KOTOR adaptation about how much we like kind of this archaeological, like historical, stuff, right? Like we like the imprint that Indiana Jones has, in films and things. So obviously, yeah, it would have been pretty exciting to get more of this character or more characters like this in our cinema throughout our whole lives, and obviously kind of going forward. Recasting Indiana Jones, that could be okay. Harrison Ford might punch you if you said you were coming in to play Indiana Jones now instead of him. He seems real protective of him, but I think
Mm-hmm.
that's probably okay. But I don't know. This felt to me like a very good send off, and it kind of fulfills the original promise of Indiana Jones. I guess kind of originally when they were making the pitch to Paramount. Paramount signed off on 5 of these films, so I guess that 5 was the number they eventually got to. Whether Indiana Jones or some sort of carrying on goes forward, and the essence of Indiana Jones, whether he's the main character or not, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good send off. Um, I think it's just like interesting how like Spielberg did 4, and then like for the last one it's someone else, but they did James Mangold did do a good job, but um I'm gonna quote guess who I'm gonna quote.
I'm gonna assume his name starts with Joseph. Is that close? Is that close?
Yeah, Joseph Campbell. So something like I keep in mind like for many things, but I think like many like fans of like film franchises like, and I'm including myself. We must be willing to get rid of the life we've planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. Like sometimes I get like really focused and really in depth when I think about Star Wars, and I think like, oh, if there's a KOTOR adaptation, this has to happen. It has to be like that, But like
Hmm.
sometimes um like we're in an age where like nostalgia is played with and deconstructed, and like heroes are um we like our heroes to be more human and like examine those flaws, and most fans I think are not okay with that, but like cuz I kind of have that hero's journey love, and kind of if you
Hmm.
look at the whole hero's journey, like the last few steps, it's like it's usually like a tragic demise. So if
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
anything, I should be happy that like Indiana Jones 5 ended as well as it did.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, kind of the tail end of the hero's journey, right? Is some sort of like death and resurrection, but a lot of times that resurrection is in the form of, you died and now your memory carries on, basically, right? Is kind of the way that
Yeah.
that works a lot of times. So I don't know. I think it's interesting to kind of look at these characters, that are so beloved in this way, and in a lot of ways. And this just came to me while you were reading that Joseph Campbell quote. This film reminds me a lot of last year's Top Gun film, in terms of kind of analyzing the flaws and the agedness of these characters, that are so beloved, that we had grown up with, that are now older, and we're older and able to look at them kind of through that lens of time, and through the characters' failures, and through our own quote unquote failures or regrets and things like that. And I think that is a really interesting way to deconstruct it. And obviously, Mangold, who directed Logan, Oscar nomination there, I think, on the screenplay that he wrote for that one. Same kind of story there for that character. So I think that's interesting. Some of the stuff I've been hearing about is a lot of people are saying that this isn't, Indiana Jones is lighthearted and kind of silly, and kind of this crazy adventure, which is kind of the exact opposite of what people complained about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and that it was campy and fun, and kind of
Fans
wacky and too outrageous. So
just like to complain. So,
that's right. I just want it to be the exact same, but different, and exactly how I want it. So I don't know. It's been interesting, I guess, to kind of see the feedback on this. It's only been a couple of days since I saw it, but I really, really enjoyed it. Cassia, we don't have to go through the whole story here, but let's just hit on a couple of the beats, kind of the more kind of important, not necessarily important, but kind of the bigger parts of the story that we knew we were going to get. So kind of up front, you get this World War II section, and we're getting the de-aged Harrison Ford. De-aging is something that's been going on now, right? We had
yeah.
you had de-aged what was it, Samuel L. Jackson, and what was it, Mrs. Marvel, or Captain Marvel,
Captain
I
Marvel,
believe.
yeah.
Yeah, in Captain Marvel, you had some de-aging in the Irishman there in that film. You obviously had Luke Skywalker, so people who are listening to this podcast are probably the most familiar with that one. But what did you think kind of about this first section? Did it capture the essence of Indiana Jones just got the cup of Christ, walked out of there, rode off into the sunsets, and then carried on to find these Nazis and try to rescue this treasure from them? How did you feel that played okay? Did you like the way that it looked? Did you think that the de-aging was okay, or what were your thoughts on that, I guess?
I like that they got someone to look and sound like Harrison Ford. Because in like CGI Indies like couple scenes, I was like, I think they gave a better performance than a certain person in a certain movie playing Harrison Ford did. But yeah,
Wow.
like shade, shade, hot take, the surface of the sun take. But yeah, I went there, but I think that it's not perfect, but I think it's probably the best de-aging I saw, and it's a movie, so I don't need it to be perfect. I think some critics just took out this movie because they hated that so much, but
Mhm.
I'm like, that's kind of what Hollywood is about, Um, like
Right.
nostalgia and looking young, and I thought they did a great job.
Then
And
is it looking
yeah,
young? That's what all of our goals and ambitions are, I think, really, to
all
be
of
honest.
us, we are all there. So, okay, I'm done committing son crimes, I guess.
Wow.
So,
That's right. Yeah, I didn't think that it was bad. I thought that it looked really pretty good, actually. It benefits from the fact that the action is pretty much moving. You get kind of that see, I guess the scene he's kind of tied up there at the beginning, and that's really kind of the most still that he's sitting there in that section. So I think that it works pretty good. Now obviously, we're you know people that have grown up with Indiana Jones for a super long time. Obviously, we're old and jaded, and we know that that's not really Harrison Ford. We know that that is some sort of actor, and they're putting a young Harrison Ford's face onto him. So what are we going to do as old jaded audience members? We're going to look at it as hard as we can on every frame to see if we can see where it breaks, where it messes up,
Yeah.
where it doesn't look quite right. But kids in the audience that are 12, that's not what they're doing. They're like, oh man, this guy's awesome. He's on top of a train, and that dude just got like jacked in the face by that thing that was next to it, right? That's what they're doing, and that's what we should be doing as
Yeah.
audience members. And that's what kind of the heart of this is. And I thought that it played fine. I think that it made a lot of sense. I think that it kind of, well, it didn't really wrap up because obviously, our kind of villain here is still going on, carrying on the Nazi ways. But it kind of was a good, kind of book year, I guess, on Indiana Jones' time fighting the Nazis, and I thought that that was really, really pretty good. So that was nice. And then we had a couple of other sections of the movie. Let's talk about those a little bit, Cassius. So we kind of go to New York City, and then we go to Morocco. We go under the sea, and then we go to Sicily, down into a cavern, or I guess up into a cavern. They're kind of climbing up into it. So, kind of these next places that we're flying on the plane and taking trains and automobiles to. Which of these sections did you like, or worked best, or didn't like, or I don't know, just kind of general thoughts about the travels and adventures of Indiana Jones.
Um, I kind of enjoyed everything, like, but this is just a complaint I have about every film. Basically, it's like if it's longer than 2 hours, it's too long. That's just kind of the
True,
age of filmmaking we're in.
very true.
I don't know
Yeah.
how you would shorten it, but I'm like, if I had to, like, in a script rewrite, like, maybe one of the chase scenes could go, but that's kind of the formula for
Mhm.
Indiana Jones is like character development, action scene, character development, action scene, you know.
Right.
But I thought that Helena was a great character, and I think that, like certain people make money complaining about things on YouTube for some reason, you know, um,
Gasp.
and they didn't like her, um, but I really didn't get that after I watched it because she's a flawed character who's still likable, but she's learning. She's kind of like how Indiana Jones was, in 1935, like who was just about fortune and glory in Temple of Doom. And I was
Hmm.
like, this is so hilarious. They have a British person saying she's self-made and like she like stole it from this person who stole it from this person, and it's capitalism. And it's like the British basically stole everything in the world at some point, like I just thought it was so hilarious.
That's right.
And it's kind of like Helena's high on her own drama, and like she's like, oh, I'm self-made. Kind of had a rich fiance at one point, but like, you do see her like she does have a softer side, like she cares about Teddy, you know,
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
um, and she improves, and she kind of is like, you know what, this isn't about me in this moment. It's about Indy, and Marion needs him, and Indy needs Marion. So I think she helps him, because Indy is like the character Indy, isn't he like 70-ish at this point?
Yeah, probably that would make sense. I think, kind of in that timeline.
So realistically, a 70-year-old person can't do all of the things, in an action movie. So they kind of need someone young around them. And like she's kind of like a young, dark reflection of like what Indy is, but I think she
Hmm.
has potential to be, a great hero.
Yeah, exactly. I liked the character of Helena quite a bit, actually. I like that she wasn't just coming in as like this almost like buddy figure to Indy, right? They kind of butted heads a little bit. You didn't know whether you could. Well, obviously, you felt straight off the bat that you couldn't trust her, that she was up to no good, and I kind of liked that. And then as their relationship, kind of warmed as you went through the story here, I really liked kind of the way that they played off of each other, Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, where she's kind of, she's very quippy, and if you've seen Fleabag, she is a lot like her character in that show there as well. But I thought that it played really well with kind of this gruffiness and more grumpiness of this older Indiana Jones, and I liked that quite a bit. And then I really liked kind of the end too. Obviously, you made mention of it there, Cassia, that she ultimately is going to return Indiana Jones back home to Marion so he can go on living his life. She sees the value in Indiana Jones being there, not staying in the past and fading away into the sunset. She sees the benefits of having him there, and quite literally, if you look at Indiana Jones's hat there at the fedora as kind of the crown of this king of Indiana Jones, Helena had the opportunity to kind of take that, quote unquote, and take the crown for herself, but ultimately just takes it and leaves it there for Indy to reclaim at kind of that closing shot of the film. Spoiler warning. So I think that the way that the character comes into the world and the way that she was written and ultimately plays off of Indiana Jones was really good. I liked it quite a bit. And then through the film, this thing is expensive, Cassia. If we we need this kind of budget for the stuff we're doing here, $250-300 million are the estimates.
You're not going to make your budget back,
You're not going to, right? Even James Cameron, that's roughly the budget for Avatar 2 was that high, and he's like, it's got to make like $2 billion for me to get it back. Obviously you have Harrison Ford, who's making 20-ish million of that budget. I don't know where a lot of the rest of that's going. I know that Disney Lucasfilm had to pay some out to Paramount to get the rights to make the film in the first place. I don't know how much that is or how exactly all that works. I don't pretend to be some sort of industry insider there, but it was expensive. But I guess the pro side of that is you get some really stunning shots. So a couple of the ones that I really liked the parade sequence where India's horseback. You have all the streamers and the parade floats going on. There's like 15,000 extras, it looks like. I don't know how much of that was real. I don't know how much of it was fake, but I thought that it all looked amazing. I liked the underwater stuff. I thought that the eels looked really cool, and kind of the shipwreck section there. Again, I don't know. Well, obviously the eels weren't real, but I don't know how much of that shipwreck was real. Were they really underwater doing that? Was that CGI? I don't know, but I thought that it looked really cool.
Yeah, I feel bad for Kristen Allen, Kate Capshaw, and Allison Doody, who had to deal with real live creatures like rats and bugs and snakes, and then it's like Phoebe Waller-Bridge is like, ooh, I had to deal with CGI, if I were them, I would be like, what? She didn't have to do anything weird. It would be funny.
Right? Yeah, throw some real bugs. I keep forgetting, there is a section there with the bugs as they're going down into the cavern.
Maybe they were real. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they were real. Maybe they used real ones and then they CGI'd over them. I don't think that's probably the case, but I don't know. That section was pretty fun. The Sicily Cavern, I liked kind of the more puzzly aspects of it. I thought that was pretty fun and pretty well done. And then obviously through this whole thing, you're being chased and pursued by your villain here. Dr. Voller is played by Mads Mikkelsen. Some more Star Wars to Indiana Jones crossover. Mads Mikkelsen has basically been in all of the
franchises, really.
All the big franchises, right? He's done Marvel, he's done Indiana Jones, he's done Star Wars, he's done Bond, he's done them all. I don't know what else he's going to do, but he's excellent, and I really liked him in this role. And then obviously he's going to propel us to kind of the pinnacle of Dial of Destiny, what we're trying to do this whole time, and that's go back in time. So Cassia, we get some kind of supernatural stuff really in all of the Indiana Jones films, right? What do you think about time travel? Does that fit in? Is that a bridge too far? What do you think?
I think whenever anything's new, you're like, it's a bridge too far. But then, I thought about it, the first few ones, you dealt with Yahweh, and then you kind of dealt with like um probably like an exaggerated version of you know, Hinduism, and then you dealt with the Holy Grail, and then aliens, and then it kind of makes sense for time travel. And I am so glad that they didn't do the thing where it's like, and then we went back in time and I saw all of my adventures in the past, like
Yeah.
with the rolling ball and like Temple of Doom, and like riding off into the sunset. And it's like, it gave me the strength to carry on. Like I would have like thrown food at the screen if that happened, but it didn't.
That's right. Yeah, if this movie would have come out in the '90s, we would have had a montage of all of Indiana Jones' escapades. That would have been good. See, that's a movie thing that I'm glad we don't have. I don't know if I would trade the 3-hour runtime for films for it. I don't know for sure, but yeah, no, I thought that it was totally fine. It it's wacky and a bit nonsensical, but I still think that it's fun. I think that they fly into like the war going on. I thought that looked really great. I thought that was pretty cool. It was fun to see all of that stuff, on the giant IMAX screen, right, in this siege of Syracuse that's going on. I thought that was cool. But yeah, if you're going to say, well, that's ridiculous, then you have to look at each of the films and say that all of that stuff was ridiculous, right? None of it is any more or less than the others. So that's where I stand on that. I don't know. That's kind of the story. I have a question I want to ask you, but was there any other kind of thoughts that you had about the film, or anything you wanted to talk about, or think it's important that you and I discuss? We haven't really talked about this film at all since it came out. So.
Yeah. I didn't want to spoil it. Like I was so like scared. Like, what if I accidentally spoiled that for Brian?
Yeah.
Because like to me, stories are sacred, and like spoiling them is like an excommunication offense, for me.
That's the bridge too far right there.
Yeah,
Spoiling stuff. Yeah.
I just kind of wrote some stuff down on. If you can hear me flicking through paper, that's why. I'm very very old fashioned, but I'll just go through this. I'll try to kind of say it in the best order. But Lucasfilm should make an ancient Roman film. Like, they did a good job with the Syracuse section, I have to say.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe that city of Syracuse is going to look like the unknown worlds and the unknown regions in our KOTOR movie.
Maybe. They can be like, where do you want to go on vacation? How about Italy? Okay, that's good. Because that's
good.
what we already decided. But I also thought it was funny, like, so I take it like, I'm guessing, at the end of Indiana Jones 4, Henry Jones was made the dean of Marshall College, but I'm guessing, like, due to marriage, it's like Marion and her family are kind of in New York, so let's maybe move there, Life happens, and, like, he's teaching his students, and, like, like in the first Raiders of the Lost Ark, like his students are like in love with him. And this one, it's like, we just landed on the moon. I want to go to a parade. Like, I literally do not care. Like, I thought it was kind of funny and meta that like
Right.
Indiana Jones has to be like, fine, I will spoon feed this to you,
Yeah.
like because people are like, ooh, I don't want to be spoon fed exposition, but like that's kind of what we got.
Yeah, exactly. I did really like that. Yeah, that his students were like falling asleep, couldn't care less. And then yeah, in the first one you got like the girl there that has like the "I love you" or whatever written on her eyelids, and then in the Last Crusade you have the students that are all like so confused and perplexed about his lessons. They're like beating down the door to get into his office for office hours, and then you get to this one and they're just so completely over it, right? We've been to the moon now. We're in the Vietnam War now. Who cares about this old stuff anymore? So
Yeah, and um the bad guy dies in the past. And Helena's father kind of like who was a good guy, but like I think like they're just kind of show you like don't focus like on the future like Helena's father, and like don't first of all don't be a Nazi, and try to bring the
yes,
Nazis back. Like don't live in the past or the future. Like you need to be in the present. Like Indy is kind of like, I love history. Like I'd love to just give up and die here. And Helena's like, punch you in the face. You're back. Like you belong here. And I was nervous at the beginning of the movie. I was like, where's Marion? But
Mm-hmm.
then when Indy was kind of looking at it looked like a divorce proceeding was happening.
Mm-hmm.
But then when
Yep.
I heard like the Marion theme, I'm like, they're gonna get back together at the end. Like they wouldn't. John Williams would not add that just to like be like, here's a divorce proceeding. So I'm like, they're gonna get back together at the end, and he's gonna move that magnet, which he did, like so she couldn't see it. And I like that Joseph Campbell quote, like I think that Indy was kind of planning that he was going to uh, have time with his son to like kind of have that legacy, like
Mm-hmm.
a son, and because that's what he and his father got, you know. They were able to make up before one of them passed away, and Indy fought in 2 world wars, but sometimes, like, things don't go the way you want to, and Mutt probably did everything right, but he just unfortunately passed away in war, and that's a sacrifice that, like, happens to many soldiers, and
Mm-hmm.
Indy and Marion probably planned on like growing old and seeing what Mutt did with his future, and like it probably broke them, but it's not the it's not the life they had planned, but they're still together, and um, I think like they have some adventures still in them, and they have the life that is waiting for them.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
I really liked, kind of the final piece there when Marion comes back into Indiana Jones's life there at the very end. And I thought that it was a really nice kind of quote unquote conclusion to their story, right? And obviously you have Karen Allen comes in and she's so expressive with her eyes. She can just give him that look, and you just see kind of all of the years of love and pain and hardships and joys and stuff that they've experienced together there, kind of at the very end. And then they have kind of this final moment of healing, which obviously is a callback there to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Is where doesn't it hurt, but it's very much more metaphorical this time,
And
right? Because
mature, you know.
they've been through all of these things together. So I really liked the way they handled Marion's portrayal in this. That was something coming out of the movie I wasn't 100% sure how I felt about, because obviously everyone loves Marion, everyone loves Karen Allen. So I was like, did she need to be in the film more? But no, I think what we got of her was kind of perfect in terms of that relationship dynamic, and the legacy bit of it, as you were just talking about with Mutt, and what does that mean for the legacy of Indiana Jones, right? Who is he now, at the end of his life? So
Yeah. That's one thing I didn't quite get about like criticism of this film. They're like, Indy's sad and like an alcoholic and getting divorced, but I'm like, at the end, he kind of got better. Like he was sad because he literally lost his son,
mm,
and he tried to handle it. Like he didn't handle it well, but like at the end, I didn't see him as a defeated, sad alcoholic who is getting divorced with Marion. Like I saw it as someone like he grabs his hat, he's back with Marion. He grabs his hat, like in a way he is sad, but he's moving forward. He's living and being present. So I
right.
loved it. Like Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's kind of it's an examination, right, of Indiana Jones, and at the end, he doesn't know if that's worth anything. But then, obviously, kind of taking the hat, Indiana Jones is still worth being, and I thought that was really great, and I think that they handled, kind of the age, obviously, of Harrison Ford, of Indiana Jones in the story, really well. If you look at Kingdom of a Crystal Skull, Indiana Jones was older even then too, right? Harrison Ford would have been what, like 64, I think, when that came out, something like that. So I mean, he was still an old man even at that point. Obviously much younger than he is now, but still old. And that was kind of a theme of that, but it was more of kind of this comedic bit, right? And calling him old, and he was too old to do all of these things. I think Mangold here in this, covered it with a much more deft hand, right, to handle, what it means to grow old as kind of this icon, and how can that carry on, and the legacy you leave and stuff like that. I thought that that was really well done. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Maybe the series can continue with a cartoon or comics or books. I guess we'll see. But I had a postscript. P.S. Audiences. Wow, Nazis hoarding the spoils of war, especially artifacts that don't belong to them, is bad. Museums around the world looking around. Shh.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah, you got to get the treasure back to the museums of the world who got it through their own nefarious means. Yeah, for sure. Which is pretty funny, and kind of a story for another day. But yeah, definitely the case there. You just actually piqued my interest. You said an animated thing. What I think would be really cool and really fun for Indiana Jones are like little like shorts, like we had were they like Galaxy of Adventure or something, like the little Star Wars shorts
Those would be
that were
perfect, like cereals.
yeah, that would be perfect for Indiana Jones. Little, these little like bite-sized adventures that are, kind of these little short things. I think that would be cool. Obviously, then I guess you could carry on. You could have adventures with Helena. You could have, I guess, adventures with Teddy. Possibly, I didn't really get the vibe that was what they were going for. Which, when people complain about Phoebe Waller-Bridge, that was one of the things that most of them complained about from the time that they announced that they had cast her. But I think, in her giving that hat back, I think that pretty much closed the door on that. But I don't know. I don't know for sure. It's hard to say. Hard to say because we'll see. We'll see how much money it ends up making back on this $300 million. That's going to go a long way in determining how much more Indiana Jones content we get. And that brings me to then what I wanted to kind of wrap up here today. Cassia, you brought this up to me right before we hit record, and that you were saying in a lot of ways you wish that Lucasfilm would have started with Indiana Jones instead of Star Wars after the acquisition. Did you want to talk about that a little bit? We can just kind of
Yeah.
give our
I
thoughts or opinions or whatever on that. So.
yeah, like I just think like maybe Star Wars deserved more time and not just to be rushed, you know? Like maybe for more of a story to organically happen, not just like kind of going like, oh, gotta get one. Okay, we got two, three. Okay, like I think like even though I was sitting down, I ran way too hard. But like Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall, like I'm pretty sure like their first major shindig in this movie industry thing was Indiana Jones. Like I think it's more of their comfort zone, honestly, you know? Um and you don't really have to be as like mythic or metaphysical. It's just a fun action movie, and
Mm-hmm.
if anything, like I wanted more Indiana Jones films, not just some people are like, oh, there's only three. And I'm like, I wanted 17 of these babies. So,
Yeah.
yeah. What did you think? Would you want more? Do you think they should have started with them or what?
I think it's interesting, and I think that hindsight is 2020, right? Obviously, as the saying goes.
Putting.
Um, but yeah, I think in Raiders, I think Kathleen Kennedy, I think was I think she was like the supervising assistant to Spielberg, and then went on to produce the rest of the films with Frank Marshall. Yeah, so I think that this is kind of a world that they're comfortable in. You have to think about what a producer does, right? If you don't like a movie because the acting is bad or the writing is bad or the editing is bad, well, that's not what the producer does. The producer gets the movie made, right? All the other people, the directors and screenwriters and actors, are the ones doing the other things. So got to remember that out there, people of the world. Yes, looking back, it would have been great to have had Indiana Jones first. Harrison Ford would have been, let's see, the acquisition was 2012, so he would have been 11 years younger. That would have opened the doors for a lot of different kind of possibilities for what Indiana Jones was capable of doing, I guess, in a physical sense, so that's good. But you have to remember, 2012 was only 4 years after Crystal Skull, which people really, really didn't like. Now people are coming around on it. People are liking it better now because now there's a new one for them to complain about. Same with Rise of Skywalker. As soon as we get the next Star Wars film, Rise of Skywalker suddenly will be, it wasn't as bad as I remember. Now I can move on to hating this next one. So I think that there's a bit of that. But really the big reason that you didn't have that, Disney didn't pay $4 billion for Lucasfilm for Indiana Jones. They got Indiana Jones. They're like, we'll throw in Indiana Jones and that other stuff if you buy Star Wars. Was how that was, and they needed to get that money back. And that's what they did. They definitely got their money back. So that was part of it. But yeah, I mean, hindsight, it would have been awesome because we could have gotten another one then, maybe another one now. At least would have gotten maybe one more Indiana Jones film out of the wash had they went straight into it. So that's my opinion. It would have been fun in a hypothetical world that was never going to happen.
Why do you have to use logic all the time and make me look stupid? No, just kidding. I should get a dial of destiny.
That's what I was going to say. We need a dial of destiny. We can go back in time. We can say, here, while you're working on Star Wars, let's just do a quick Indiana Jones film. It'll be fine. People will forget about the refrigerator and the swinging with the monkeys through the on the vines. People will forget about all that stuff. Let's just get one out ASAP. It would have been great. That's what they should put us in charge of stuff, I think.
Why not? Like you get to be in charge of KOTOR. We're never gonna do anything with it, but you can be in charge of it.
That's right. That's right. Where are Brian and Cassia? They're in the KOTOR closet down the hall. Don't bother them.
They think they have power. They actually don't. But it'd be funny. But
that's right. Yeah. Absolutely. So that was Dial of Destiny. We didn't get into too much of the movie, but I think it was fun to talk about it and kind of share our thoughts and opinions and things like that. Did you have any closing thoughts about the movie or just about Indiana Jones in general, or anything we missed when we were talking about the Indiana Jones 1 through 4 that's coming everyone's way? Maybe today. I don't know. It depends on when we get this put out, but it'll be on the podcast feed. So
I guess what I would say, maybe Indiana Jones would say it too, is just study history. It's there to learn from. Hopefully we don't repeat the mistakes of the past and we can create a better future.
That's right. Absolutely. That is a really great point. It's something I was thinking of today, is that even if this movie ends up losing a ton of money, even if people get on their YouTube channel and talk about how terrible it was and how awful it was and how everything is destroyed now and childhoods are ruined, which is nonsense. You know how many people are going to go home and type into Google Archimedes and learn about this guy? And that's awesome. So there you go. Yep. So that is that. So thank you so much, Patreon patrons. We definitely appreciate your support. It helps us do fun stuff like talk about Dial of Destiny for a little bit and get stuff off the ground, the audio drama and stuff like that. Hopefully we'll be having some more rough cuts of that coming your way. Probably I don't think we ever put part 2 rough cut up on there. We'll have to get that onto the Patreon feed here as we're waiting for kind of the final couple of pieces of music to come through for that, and we'll get that out here shortly to the rest of the world, but we'll make sure to get the rough cuts and stuff out to you guys first, so that way you can hear it. And thank you again for all of your support. It is pretty awesome.
All right, and may the Archimedes Dial of Destiny be with you.